I'm JP Tuesday.
And I'm Kiki Cannon. As lifelong Disney fans, the work of countless talented Disney creatives have shaped our lives.
Now, as the Disney catalog expands, we're taking a journey through film and television to discover if that spark that shaped us as children lives on in adulthood.
Does your favorite Disney media still cast that same spell? Join us as we find out. We are Rewatching the Magic.
Hi, Kiki.
Hi, Tuesday.
Before we get going here, a little bit of news. We have started a new tip jar. So if you are enjoying our podcast and want to show your appreciation monetarily, Ko-Fi, Ko-Fi, Coffee, ko-fi.com/rewatchingthemagic, and throw us at least $1 in appreciation. It goes a long way, and we will greatly appreciate it. And you can be like our first donator. Thank you, Charlotte, for your donation. I don't know if we're going to be reading off all of the names on the podcast who donate, but we will see. But I want to give a special shout out to Charlotte for being our very first donator. Thank you very much. On that, Kiki, for the first time in a long time, we are back in the TARDIS and we're talking Doctor Who. The war between the land and the sea just wrapped up in the UK while we are recording this. I have not seen it. I don't know if you have.
I have also not seen it.
And supposedly will be coming to Disney Plus in the new year. Don't know when, they never announced it. But that will be the end of the BBC Disney partnership in terms of the Doctor Who franchise. We don't know what's going on after that. We know that there will be a Christmas special, Christmas 2026. We don't know if it even is going to have an international distributor as of this recording. We don't even know who the Doctor is going to be, because that finale where just random Billy Piper shows up, they're not saying anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
So because of all of that, because of the end of the Disney BBC partnership, we've decided that it's time to talk about the Disney era of Doctor Who. Back in 2023, we dedicated almost half the year to episodes dedicated to the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. If you're interested in them, you can go back, and we did one episode for every incarnation of the Doctor. It's kind of odd because I've been going back to them to do some of the Instagram reels and YouTube shorts for our social media. And it's like, man, going back to these episodes, and it's like, we were so excited of what this new era was going to be. Yeah.
Let's see how that turned out, shall we?
Let's pick it up where we left off. Jodie Whittaker, the 13th Doctor, got lasered by the Master, and then she regenerated into David Tennant? Yeah, somehow David Tennant returned and was the 14th Doctor. I'm still not sure why the clothes changed.
Well, I know the behind-the-scenes reason why the clothes changed.
I know as well. It still don't make no sense to me, and I just wanted an in-universe explanation, which they never gave me. They had one, and we're going to talk about how they had one. They didn't do it.
Well, do you want to talk about that now?
So, yeah, I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off it. You reintroduce a character for the 60th anniversary, an enemy from the classic era of Doctor Who, the Toy Maker, from a serial that cannot be watched in its original format because it's lost media. So you bring that character back. Fine. This character can warp reality. There is your thing right there. Why does the Doctor have his old face? The Toy Maker. Why did the clothes change? The Toy Maker. Did they go in that direction? No! It was right there, Russ. Right there, and you didn't do it. What is wrong with you, Russ?
Let's not get into all the things that are wrong with Rusty. We will be here far too long, and this is a too long podcast as it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'm glad they didn't do that because, the Toymaker episode at the end, but skipping ahead, I'm already mad that he just kind of blamed everything on Toymaker anyway. Like, as we discussed, if you go back and listen to those episodes, Moffat just kind of went haywire with the Doctor's backstory.
As did Chibnall.
The less said about Chibnall's better. But, between the two of them, nothing about the Doctor's backstory makes sense anymore, which these 3 episodes kind of really highlight because Donna does mention it constantly. So when the Toymaker comes in, the Toymaker is like, I made a jigsaw out of your history. Did you enjoy that? And so now anybody in future can hand wave any continuity weirdness about the weird child or whatever the hell they're calling that storyline. And the Doctor maybe not even being from this universe and whatever. And now there being incarnations of the Doctor that the Doctor doesn't remember that were around before the first Doctor and all this other nonsense that, it's like, oh, well, that's just because the Toymaker, mixed up the pieces.
It's an explanation. It's not a good one, but it's an explanation.
Yeah, and on the one hand, I dislike when shows kind of go like, yeah, none of that happened, and we're retconning that out of existence.
The Dallas ending?
Yeah, it's like, and then the companion wakes up in the shower, and none of that season happened. It's like, it's like Doctor Who meets Dallas, yeah. But I kind of hate when shows do that, but at the same time, just hand-waving in a single line, like, I am all-powerful, and I jumbled up your backstory, so now none of it makes any sense, not even to you, ha ha ha. Like, that seems almost as equally as we found you in the shower and it was all a dream, And I don't particularly like either of them because it's kind of just the creators going, look, there is no way to salvage this, so we're not even going to try. And please stop asking us and let's everybody forget about it and move on.
I mean, part of the big thing of Russell T Davies taking back over the showrunner role was you don't need to know 60 years of backstory to understand and watch Doctor Who. And that quick little line of, now your backstory doesn't make sense because I made your backstory a jigsaw. It's one way to do it. That, okay, you've heard about all of these things about the Doctor. Well, it doesn't really make sense. And you don't need to know any of that. It's all new. You can just jump in with this new Doctor and you won't need to know anything. But then, Susan and Sutek and the Rani and Omega.
Yeah. So here's a little thing that I'm gonna say. And I've gone on this rant before, but if this is like your, first time with us, hello and welcome. But there are times when canon matters and times when it doesn't. And the teeny tiny minutia is when it doesn't matter. Like, wait a minute, that episode says the character was 5'7", and this episode says they're 5'8". Which is it? That doesn't matter, But in the larger, broader strokes of things, like, well, in this episode, it says they will never murder, and that's like part of their core morality. And then this episode shows them just like grabbing a gun and, taking out a whole bunch of enemies. That's when those things are important. And so when people say like, well, you shouldn't get bogged down in canon, it's just a story or whatever. Well, make sure that you're using canon in the same way when everybody's talking about it, It's like minutia is different from canon.
But what counts as canon for Doctor Who. Even the BBC has been kind of shy on what counts as canon. Yes, most people will say it's the TV show, but then once in a while you'll get a reference to a novel or an audio drama or a comic book or some article that was written by one of the showrunners in the Doctor Who magazine. So what is canon and what isn't canon is mud when it comes to Doctor Who.
It is, and I'm going to tell you, because right now the Fallout fandom is having a real big, time with this because of the TV show and all that kind of stuff, as to what counts as canon and what doesn't. And the original creator of the Fallout games, Tim Kaine, had a really good answer to this. And what technically is canon is whatever the current IP holder says it is. And just because of the capitalist hellscape we live in, that's what it is.
I mean, that's what Disney did when they got a hold of Star Wars.
Yeah. So you can get mad at showrunners and stuff like that for going against canon, but the thing is technically it's just whatever the IP holder says it is right now, and it could change tomorrow based on their whim, which is why I kind of tend to hold to the generally accepted vibe among fans, to be honest, because there is something to be said of death of the author in that sort of thing. And yeah, it can, everybody can get into the weeds on that, but I think in most fan communities are certain things that just most people accept. And I think that's just kind of the vibe you should go with.
Like I said, Doctor Who's canon is mud, and that's as clear as you're going to get. I mean, I see it, and I say it very lovingly as someone who does engage with the expanded media of Doctor Who. I enjoy the audio dramas, and the audio dramas does expand some stuff from the lore for me. And yeah, occasionally you'll get something that contradicts that audio drama in the show, like with the Return of the Toymaker. In the audio and the novels, the Doctor has met the Toymaker several times. But according to the show, one of these three specials, those things never happened. And this is the second time the Toymaker has appeared, and none of those things happened, which is fine. It's a show about time travel. Time can be rewritten.
Yeah, the thing is, though, is that up until the 2005 revival, even the BBC did not care about continuity.
I mean, we had, between the end of the original series and the revival, there was about 5 or 6 different finales for Ace and how she left the 7th Doctor. So, yeah, they didn't care.
I mean, within the actual running series, they'd do one story and then the very next story would contradict the thing that had just aired the previous week because literally nobody cared.
We talked about this before. The Daleks, they were originally 2 races. They were originally the Thals and the Dals, D-A-L-S, and then that got retconned to become the Khaleds. So that's just part of the course for the series.
Yeah, let's talk about the little Children in Need special that came out first, since we're talking about the Daleks.
Yeah, I wanna backtrack just a bit because we gotta frame this, because there's a bit of a backstory here, because when it was announced that Russell T Davies was coming back and Chris Chibnall was leaving, there was the big rumor of the possibility of David Tennant coming back for the anniversary, of Catherine Tate coming back for the anniversary. During COVID, they would do these live tweeting events where they would air an episode on BBC, and then they would have the writers or some of the stars live tweeting with the episode to fans. During one of those live tweets, David Tennant, Catherine Tate, and Russell T Davies started talking, and Tennant and Tate expressed interest in coming back to the show. And the idea for what these 3 specials originally were going to be was flashbacks. These were supposed to be unseen adventures of the 10th Doctor and Donna Noble as they figure out who the next Doctor was going to be. because the original ending of that final Jodie Whittaker episode was supposed to end on a cliffhanger. You were not supposed to know who the Doctor was. And if these flashback episodes were supposed to just be for fans, and then we would actually find out what really happened when the new series started. Didn't exactly go that way. They changed their minds, and now we have David Tennant as the 14th Doctor rather than playing the 10th Doctor. Okay. That's your backstory. Just wanted to get that out there before we go forward. So, the first appearance in terms of on screen for David Tennant's 14th Doctor was a little skit done for children in need. A little 5-minute skit called Destination Skaro, in which the Doctor goes back not to his earliest point on Skaro, because the 12th Doctor did meet Davros as a child, but early enough that we see the special here anyway starts with a pre-injured Davros, a Julian Bleach who had played Davros since his return in New Who, but this would be the first time he's ever performed Davros outside of all of those prosthetics. So, and it's our first look on screen of an adult pre-injured Davros, talking with his assistant and unveiling the prototype Dalek with a gigantic claw. It's definitely reminiscent of the old school Daleks from the classic era. Paint job's a little bit duller because it's a prototype. And we have that big multi-claw tool thingamajig on it. You talked about canon and continuity and stuff. This did rupture some feathers in the fandom, because why is Davros not injured? Why is he walking around? Why is he not burnt? Why is he not in his life support chair with his cybernetic eye in his head and all? Now, the explanation that Russell T Davies gave was that he felt that the, for lack of a better term, disabled villain was a trope that had kind of worn out. So he decided to have Davros just be walking around and just not injured. From a fan perspective, I'm seeing it as, okay, this is just, he hasn't been injured yet. And he just came up with this idea of the Dalek because the ongoing war on Skaro is mutating people, and, you know, they need to figure out what to do with their new mutated form and whatnot. If you want to know more about this, go back to our 4th Doctor episode where we talk Genesis of the Daleks. But some fans were like, yeah, he should be injured. He should be burned. He should be confined to his chair. This is, you know, we talked about this before. It's like, oh, Doctor Who's going, well, can't even have disabled people, blah, 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 blah. And from my perspective, it's like, why? Why is that a bad thing? Why can't this not just be an early point before his injury? And that his injury just delayed his Dalek project until he can get to a point where he could go back and finish that project, you know? Anyway, Davros is called out of the room to handle other things, and as Davros' assistant is thinking up names for their new forms, an anagram of Khaled, what do we see but the TARDIS blasting through into Davros' workshop, welding itself into a wall, and completely taking off the multi-claw adapter thing.
Yeah, the Daleks were originally supposed to have, like, a really cool claw arm, and now we know why they have a plunger instead.
Yeah, one thing I did like, and you know, it's blink and you'll miss it, because when the Doctor opens the TARDIS, the interior is still the 13th Doctor's interior. We never see the inside of it. Honestly, I think this is just, you know, a backdrop they put. It's probably a green screen effect they put behind there, and the set has long been torn down by that point. But I do like that they have that little bit there. But yeah, the Doctor comes out, realizes he's on Skaro. Oh man, that's a Dalek. Dalek, that's a great name. Oh, it's almost exterminated. Exterminate. Ooh, this is the good stuff. Nope. I've muddled the timelines. Forget what I said. I was never here. I'm not supposed to be here yet. The fact that the Doctor can just pull out a toilet plunger right next to the door of the TARDIS makes me wonder where exactly the toilet is on the TARDIS.
The toilet is everywhere.
Is the toilet bigger on the inside?
Who knows? Probably.
But I do like that, like he breaks it. I mean, the episode is not meant to be taken seriously. This is a comedy skit. This is for charity. If you're getting into the minutia of why does the Doctor have a toilet plunger that close to the TARDIS? Why is Davros walking and not in his chair? And all of these things. It's a comedy sketch for charity. You're overthinking it. And yes, I'm saying this as a Doctor Who fan to other Doctor Who fans. And this is relatively recent because, as he says, 60 minutes ago, I was a brilliant woman and now that I've got this old face again. So this is right after he regenerated. So he's still like, what am I doing? What's going on? Yeah. Like I said, it's a short skit. It's for charity. It's a comedy sketch. It's just to get people to get hyped for the upcoming anniversary specials. And hey, it's David Tennant as the Doctor for the first time in, 10 years since the 50th anniversary special. So yay. It was funny. It's still funny. I liked it. And, of course, at the end, when the Doctor is gone and Davros comes back into the room and sees the plunger on the Dalek, he said, I like it. And thus, we get the Dalek design that we know and love.
Yeah, for a quick little Children in Need special to get everybody hyped for the return of David Tennant, I thought this was a really good use of that.
Yeah. So let's get to the actual, because usually when we do these episodes, we talk about either a classic Doctor Who serial, which can be anywhere between 4 and 12 episodes. Jeez. So I'm glad we don't do that anymore. Or when we're talking about the revival era, we usually talk about 2 episodes. But because the 14th Doctor era is 3 episodes, we're going to talk about all 3. I don't see a reason why not. So, the first of these 3 60th anniversary specials, The Star Beast. I mentioned, the expanded media of Doctor Who. This started as expanded media in Doctor Who. The Star Beast was a comic. It started as a comic, came out in 1980. And featured the Fourth Doctor. So if you're going to do a 60th anniversary special, why not do something from expanded media? Bring that piece into Doctor Who television canon, if you want to call it that. And Doctor Who and the Star Beast was probably one of the most well-known comics. It's not the first episode to be based on expanded media. The episode Human Nature was based off a 7th Doctor novel. The episode Dalek from the revival was loosely based off one of the audio adventures, Jubilee, I believe. So it's not the first time that they took a piece of expanded media and adapted it back into the show proper. So it's interesting that they would do that, especially the character of Beep the Meep, as he was known in the comic. And when I found out that they were adapting the Star Beast, my first thought was, if they can bring Beep the Meep into the show, they can bring Frobisher into the show. The Detective Penguin, yes, that is an actual Doctor Who character.
Yeah, the most important thing about this episode is something we screamed about in our previous Doctor Who episodes, which is justice for Donna.
Yeah, when Donna Noble's exit from the show, she had taken the brain of a Time Lord into herself with the Metacrisis Doctor. And a human brain cannot hold a Time Lord brain, and she was dying, and the Doctor decided to save her life was to wipe her memory of the Doctor completely. Everything was wiped. Every adventure she had with the Doctor, gone. She basically resetted, which was, for a long time, and we talked about it, that was, of all the options they had, that was probably the worst.
Mostly because Donna begged him not to. She said she'd rather die than go back to just being a normal human.
Or the person she was before she met the Doctor.
Yeah.
Because, that's kind of one of the big things about these companions. They start off as one type of person, and then the Doctor shows them the universe and their mind is expanded and they become different people than they were before. For Donna to go back to square one, to go back to the person she was after seeing the universe, that, that was not what she wanted. And for the Doctor to purposely go against her wishes, to force this upon her. Yeah. That was not, that wasn't cool. So, I mean, a lot of fans made their own ideas of how to rectify this or bring Donna back in a future season or whatnot. That was one of the big questions involving, bringing Catherine Tate back as Donna Noble, is how are they going to get around that whole thing? I mean, they danced around it when they brought her back for the end of time, because she was just a background character at that point. It was mostly, Doctor and Wilf having an adventure. But yeah, this is old Rusty fixing a mistake. Whether you agree on how that mistake was fixed or not, or was it fixing a mistake or not, that is up to you and how you feel. Before we really get into this episode, there's an intro to this episode where we see the Doctor and Donna kind of talking about it. The Doctor, once upon a time, Lord, I had a friend named Donna Noble, and this feels like this was made for Disney, just for people who may be watching Doctor Who for the first time to get them all caught up. And then you have Donna going, I've had these dreams where I've seen space and monsters and things, but they're just dreams, right? When that aired, the director of this episode and some of the other people that worked on this episode were like, this is the first we've ever noticed about this. Like, when the director of this episode is saying, I did not direct that, or that's already starting this era on a sour note. I don't know who directed that opening part. I don't think it's ever been said. But for Russell T. Davies or whoever to write that intro like this, because if you're a Doctor Who fan, you already know all this stuff. But this feels like this was made specifically because this was going to be the first Doctor Who episode to be aired on Disney Plus. And people who have only heard of Doctor Who may not know what's going on, this is just for them to get caught up on the story.
Also, the vibe of this is really off. Like, it doesn't fit with the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
It just has a very different tone, and the way that actors are presenting it, which I'm sure is they were just following direction, nothing against them, of course, but it doesn't match up with the tone of the rest of the episode.
That's why I say I feel like this was written and filmed after the episode was made. Like whatever reshoots they were doing, pickup shots before these episodes aired, they just decided, hey, David, hey, Catherine, we need you to get in costume and get on these sets for a minute. If I didn't know better, I feel like these two were reading off cue cards.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell you anything that isn't already told in the episode, because all of this information is told in the episode. I had a friend named Donna Noble. She had a Time Lord brain inside her. To save her life, I made her forget me. And if she ever remembers me again, she will die. All of that is told in the episode. We did not need this intro. That's what makes it all the more weirder. It doesn't tell you anything that you did not already know. You don't get to see him becoming Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, Jodie Whittaker, any of the other adventures. It's like none of them matter, even though they're referenced. Where 14 is talking to Shirley from Unit, after this I wore a bow tie, after that I was a Scotsman, after that I was a woman, and here I am again. So it's like, this intro is superfluous. It does not need to be here, and it feels like it was added as a mandate rather than as an artistic choice.
Yeah, I will agree with that. But we start off with, 14 running into Donna and immediately freaks out, like, oh, she can't see me. And then she starts calling for Rose, and he's like, what? and discovers that she has a daughter named Rose.
Yeah, not only a daughter. I mean, do you want to pull the Band-Aid off of that?
I mean, yeah, it's fine. It's like,
yeah, a trans daughter named Rose. So yeah, we do have a trans character in this 3-parter. You know what? If you're one of the people that complain about Doctor Who being woke, you're not. You haven't been paying attention to any of the show. I'm just going to say you have not, because off with you. But that does become part of, it's part of the story here, because we do get some of Rose's classmates kind of teasing Rose, dead naming her. Even the Meep calls her a freak, which, sure, you little furball alien, call the human a freak.
well, by the end, we're not supposed to like the Meep, so.
Yeah, but it's weird because it's trying to follow the story of the comic, which it does most of it. Again, it's definitely that Disney, we're going to break it down to its base elements and rebuild a new story around it. So it does follow the base story of the comic, in that here's the Meep befriends a teen, the teen is with the Doctor, and then, yeah, we find out everything else afterwards. It's just now we add on that it's a past companion who cannot remember the Doctor, and that now he has to, go through all of that.
Can I just say that I think that the storyline of the Meep and everything, it's not really the important thing here. They just needed a story to get Donna back in the swing of things. And they pulled an old comic that people would be like, hey, that thing. I remember that thing.
And it works because it's an anniversary, so you can get away with that.
Yeah, but the Meep is not important. That entire storyline is not important. It's just to get characters in the right place to do the thing. The Meep sucks. Let's just get that out of the way. Like, as a character, it sucks. It's perfectly cast. The Meep is voiced by Miriam Margolyes, who, yeah, come at me, UK. I do not like her. I've never liked her. Every time I see her in anything, she seems like she would be the most annoying person in the world to be around. But she's a national treasure. Okay, I'm not part of your nation. You can keep her. So, yeah. So the second that she shows up voicing this thing, I'm like, this is going to be the bad guy, right? I never read the comic, just so you know. But it was like, oh, it's voiced by Miriam Margolyes. I'm betting this thing's the bad. So that's not really the important part. That's just to make sure all the characters are in the right place. The important part is, how do we get Donna's memory back without killing her? And I have complex feelings on how they accomplished this, but I did like it more than I disliked it.
Yeah, so let's go to that part. They're in the Meep spaceship. The Doctor knows how to turn it off before the ship pretty much blows London into smithereens, because that's how and the Doctor can do it on his own, but fail-safe's put in. There's a wall there, and you need to be in two places at once to shut down the engine. The Doctor doesn't have a choice. He has to make Donna remember him, get the Time Lord brain a going again, so they can shut off this engine, so they can save London. And Donna says, yes, do whatever you got to do. I don't care what it is. My daughter's down there. If whatever is you have to do is going to save my daughter, I'll do it. We get a regeneration effect. Honestly, it's really weird. But she's once again the Dr. Donna. I just love that reaction as soon as she gets her memory back. It's like, I gave away all my money to be like you. Because when we last saw Donna, she got married, and the Doctor gave her a lotto ticket so that she would have a good life. She won, and she ended up that lingering memory of wanting to help people, because she traveled with the Doctor. The best way she figured she could spend that money is to give it to people who needed it. And she did. And she's angry with the doctor. It's like, I gave away my money because I wanted to be like you, because I still had a memory of you in the back of my head, you dumb little spaceman.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of cute. But they are able to keep the spaceship from exploding. And the thing is, though, is that Donna doesn't die. Her brain doesn't explode. And the doctor is very confused. And then he realizes, like, oh, wait, you had a child, and that split the meta crisis between you and your child. And they play some kind of cool stuff with, like, you know, the child being trans and the doctor being non-binary, and, you know, that working into it, which is kind of cool.
Binary, non-binary.
Yeah. So I did kind of like that bit. But the thing is that I like how they go back through Rose's history and show how all of her, like, stuffed animals she was making and the shed in the backyard and everything is all just her sort of remembering Donna's time in the TARDIS.
Her shed looks like a TARDIS. All of these stuffed animals that she sells are the monsters that Donna has seen during her travels. Kind of want them. The fact that, you know, they never made those plushies is kind of, you're leaving money on the table, BBC.
Yeah.
You know, you want a plush Cyberman, a Dalek mutant, a plush Jadoon, you know, a plush Ood. I would love a plush Ood.
Yeah, some of the versions that Rose had made were really cool. Then, you know, the doctor, you know, after the immediate crisis has passed, the doctor says, like, okay, splitting the force between the two of them, that's gotten it for a little bit, but it's not going to solve it forever. You know, it's just slowed it down. And they point out that they can just give up the power.
I understand this. I don't like the way it was written in terms of the dialogue. Like, I understand, like, okay, you know, we could have fixed this a long time ago. All we have to do, you know, is give up the power of being a Time Lord, and thus we're not going to die. We're going to be fine. The dialogue is that because you're a male presenting Time Lord, again, you'll never understand. And it's like, you know, I consider myself as woke as the next person, but that's a little cringy. Maybe it's me.
No, it's not just you. I didn't like the way that the dialogue was written. It's kind of I don't know, it's a very woke equivalent of breasted boobily down the stairs, you know? It's very much, this is women being written by a man. And I was like, I don't disagree with the idea behind it, but it was written very badly.
Yeah. I would have liked a bit of a more explanation on 14 Sonic, because he just has the new Sonic. Fine, we gotta sell toys. But it's like there's no explanation of why it can now do laser shields or screens or anything like that. And yeah, as soon as this thing is over, that Sonic is kind of thrown away, and then we get the 15th little Sonic remote thingy. Maybe I'm asking too many questions. I don't know.
Well, kind of in the newer stuff, the TARDIS tends to make a new Sonic. So I guess, like, when it realized there was a new Doctor, it was just like, I guess it's gonna need to be a new Sonic.
Yeah, but just kind of an explanation of why the Sonic can do what it did in these 3 episodes, you know? Especially him, you know, making the shield, the shield of laser light, and him making a screen to look at things. It's like, Sonic never did that before. Why is he doing it now? No explanation. Let's move on. But I do want to talk about one of the new characters, and she's kind of become one of my favorite of the new characters in the new series. And I mentioned her before, Shirley Bingham, the new unit scientific officer, played by an actual wheelchair user. Her disability was written into the show. Both the character and the actor have the same affliction, spina bifida, which, she can walk for small moments, but primarily uses a wheelchair. And I do like that it's become a thing, because we also get it with any of these new characters that need a mobility device, has weapons in the mobility device. You know what, Keek? I mean, I know that you have your own ailments, and we've talked about that over the course of the show. Wouldn't you love a wheelchair that can just shoot rockets out of it?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have some stuff in my mobility devices that would be a little more useful like that.
Especially when a crowd is moving around. Boom.
Yeah.
Even in towards the end, her wheelchair can fly. That is awesome.
Now that I would like. That would be very useful.
And I like Shirley in these new ones. I wish they could have used her more, and it's probably because of actor availability. But set up having a wheelchair ramp in the TARDIS, and she never goes in the TARDIS.
Yeah, that kind of angered me. Loves me some Shirley though.
Yes. I want more of this character.
Just give her her own spinoff.
Yeah, I would rather watch 6 episodes of Shirley doing stuff in Unit, no offense, than watch 6 episodes of the Sea Devils. I'm just saying. Oh, excuse me, Homo Aqua. Not a fan of the name. Anyway, let's get back to what we were talking about. They decide that, hey, let's surprise old Wilf by appearing in the TARDIS now that Donna has her memory back. And they look at the new interior of the TARDIS. I love the new interior of the TARDIS. Again, it's one of those things that it's never used to its full potential, especially because they have the LED lights that can change multiple colors, and they never really use it to its full potential in that. But anyway, and they look at the new stuff, like 13's TARDIS has a little biscuit dispenser. This one has a coffee maker.
Put those two together and you have an excellent full-service TARDIS.
Yep, but yeah, so she pours a cup of coffee. She accidentally spills the coffee on the TARDIS console, and that ends episode 1 and brings us into the second special, Wild Blue Yonder. This is more of a return to form. This is definitely classic Doctor Who. It's a space undersea story. It's very much a character-driven story. It is honestly my favorite of these 3 specials, but it doesn't really feel like 60th anniversary of Doctor Who to me. I don't know about you.
I was going to say, this is my least favorite of the 3 because it is boring and it accomplishes nothing. I mean, to me, this feels like a filler episode, but we don't have time for filler episodes because we only have 3 episodes.
That's kind of my thing. As a regular episode of Doctor Who, this is fine. If this was just a regular episode of Doctor Who in a full season, it would have been fine. But this is part 2 of a 3-part 60th anniversary special where the story stops. But is this really filler? Because not only does it set up the 3rd episode, it sets up Ncuti Gatwa's entire 2-season arc. Because number 1, right at the beginning, we see one of the Susan doppelgangers, Susan Twist, as this maid of Sir Isaac Newton. And she shows up in pretty much every episode of the Ncuti Gatwa era. And we find out that she's Susan Triad and all that. So this is the first instance of that. This is the first instance of the TARDIS doing that groaning sound that we would discover is, spoilers, is Sutekh. This also sets up the gods coming from beyond the universe into our universe because the Doctor invoked a superstition at the end of the universe. This brings the toy maker into our world. This brings the maestro into our world. This brings Lux into our world. So you may say it accomplishes nothing, but it's set up for everything that comes after. And it gives us Mavity.
Which is one of the weirdest running gags in modern Doctor Who.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to keep going with that, or if they're just going to say, yeah, we had a problem, there was an incident, and it was called Mavity for a while, but now we fixed it. But it's still, as of the ending of the Ncuti Gatwa era, it was still Mavity. So Who knows what's going to happen after that? As an episode, as an individual episode, it's fine. It's a pretty fine and serviceable episode of Doctor Who. And at the time, okay, what does this have to do with the anniversary? I agreed with you that this was kind of a go nothing. I liked the episode when it aired, but what does it have to do with the anniversary? What does this all have to do with 60th anniversary? But it's just, we need to set up everything that's going to happen in the next few years. Which, yeah, that's literally what this whole episode, the crux of this episode is we are setting up everything that's about to happen in the next 2 years of the show. The not things, creatures from beyond the universe who don't know shape and tries to figure out how to live in a physical world, trying to copy the Doctor and Donna and learning how to stay in this world and become actual beings and whatnot. It's fine. Again, it's a serviceable episode. It's of the three, it's the most like a classic Doctor Who episode. But like you said, we only have these 3 episodes to do this story. And yeah, on first watch, this feels like we're stopping the story just to tell this base undersea story, and then we're going to get back into the 3rd episode.
I'm going to say, even on not first watch, it still feels like that to me, because I know that you're like, oh, this sets up a bunch of stuff. Even having seen those other things, yeah, I didn't really get how all that connected.
If I had to have a complaint about the episode, is I would have had the ending be a little bit more ambiguous. Like, we should not have known if he had taken the right Donna or not. That would have been, again, if I was writing this episode, that's what I would have gone. That we wouldn't have known if it was the right Donna or not. And if this was a full season, that would have been a great ending, but we only have these 3 episodes, so we can't do that.
Yeah, the weird thing is that they do have that thing where she's like, Doctor, come back, it's me. You've taken the wrong thing. And for a second, you're like, wait, does the monster just think that it's really Donna now? And then you're like, oh no, he really did take the wrong Donna. Did he do that on purpose? Did he do that? And then it was like, no, it just seems like he really accidentally took the wrong Donna. And like, he doesn't really apologize afterwards, or like, you know?
Yeah, you're right. It's just, let's go home, let's go see the old man, like we originally planned to. And I mean, it's just that moment of them holding each other, and they're just both have this whole devastated shock look on, like, what just happened? Like, I almost let my best friend die. My best friend almost let me die.
You kind of expected her to like scream at him a little bit or something, you know? That would have been the normal Donna thing to do. But no, we're just moving along like that didn't even happen.
Nope, she almost got you. I almost believed she was the real you, but there was a slight imperfection. Her arm was just a tiny bit longer than the other, and that's how I knew I had the wrong one. Not even like, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. It's like, yeah, I knew it wasn't the right one. I had to be sure, though. And Donna just doesn't complain about it. It's just like, oh, well, devil's in the details. And then I wish I hadn't invoked a superstition at the edge of the universe. This is going to bite me in the butt sooner rather than later, and sooner was.
Yeah, so then we get to kind of, I don't know, the best of the 3 ?
Yeah. The episode ends with them coming back to modern day London just a few days later, and we see Bernard Cribbins in his final role as Wilfred Mott, Donna's grandfather.
Yeah, so sweet.
Yeah, he would pass away pretty much not long after shooting that one scene. Whatever role he had in the 3rd episode had to get rewritten because he had passed away.
But they get back and they say Wilf, and well, Earth has gone absolutely haywire.
Yeah, everyone believes they're right. Everyone's an internet troll, basically. And that's how this episode was written. The toy maker has seen how people treat each other, the trolling, the ghosting, the games people play online. I just brought that into reality. Now, everybody thinks they're right, and they'll fight for them being right. That is the game, and that's how the toy maker works. The toy maker plays games, and he's playing the ultimate game. So, Now that we're in the Giggle, the third episode, I want to backtrack a bit because we need to explain who the Toymaker is, because he is a character, a villain from the classic era, all the way from basically the beginning, the second season. The Toymaker, the Celestial Toymaker was the name of the episode. Michael Gough, legendary British actor, probably best known in our generation as Alfred in the Tim Burton Batman movies, originally played the Toymaker in those episodes. And like I said, the episodes are now considered mostly lost media, as those episodes were not properly maintained and were not archived. There was a animated reconstruction released not long after this episode aired. Would have been nice if they had released it before so people could get context, but what do I know? But yeah, the first Doctor defeated the Toymaker, and now the Toymaker has returned from beyond the universe, thanks to the Doctor invoking a superstition in the previous episode. And this also is part historical, because we go back to the beginning of television. Soho, 1925. The first televised image to ever be broadcasted of this puppet, Stooky Bill. And the Toymaker gets involved with that. The first ever image televised, and he injects a little message, a little thing to get into the heads of every single person who's ever watched a screen. The Giggle. Ha 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 ha.
When I first watched this, and we talked about it when it first aired, I spent the entire episode going, why does that sound so familiar? And then it hit me. It's the Woody Woodpecker. I mean, yes, it does say it in the episode that it is just an arpeggio, but that's why the Woody Woodpecker is so memorable, is it's almost a complete arpeggio.
It's interesting that that's now become the calling card for the entire pantheon of universal gods, because we hear the maestro do that laugh. We hear Lux do that laugh. In the modern world of 2023, basically everyone's an internet troll. Even when presented with factual evidence, they will always believe that they are in the right, even when proven wrong. Yeah.
We don't know anything about that in the real world, do we?
Yep. So the Doctor ends up going to UNIT, who apparently have now moved into Avengers Tower. Like UNIT, when it first started in Doctor Who, was supposed to be this thing that nobody knew about. That's why it was such a small group of people. It was just this small force, and the Doctor was there, and the Brigadier was there, and you would have all these, Liz Shaw and Joe Grant and Sarah Jane and all of them. So it was like, no one was supposed to know UNIT was a thing. And then when the revival comes, it's now this big military organization that is pretty much, you can fill in whatever military organization you want to put in here, and UNIT will be the fill-in for that organization. But now it's like out in the open. They have a big old tower. There's this well-known organization of people. And we get Kate Lethbridge Stewart back, which we've talked about before. She's apparently now fully embracing her heritage and using her full last name as opposed to just Kate Stewart. Sure, whatever.
The Doctor even mentions that her father had spent so much of his life trying to keep UNIT a secret. And here they are in the biggest building in London with UNIT written all over it.
I mean, they must have gotten a good deal, because the last time we saw UNIT, their headquarters was getting destroyed by the Cybermen. So they must have gotten a good deal on some real estate. But yeah, this is the 60th anniversary. We get another return of an old character, Connie Langford as Melanie Bush. She's just here. And they say, Mel, you're here. And, again, if you watch Classic Who, you know who Mel is. And Mel did make a cameo in that final episode with 13th Doctor in the in that Companions Anonymous scene. But like, if you did not watch Classic Q, you'll have no idea who this person is, but we're supposed to be act like she's a big deal. Like, no offense, but it feels like Russell T Davies wants her to be the new Sarah Jane. Like this old companion that came back and is now part of the new show. But at least when they brought Sarah Jane back, they gave her an entire episode to reintroduce her to a new audience. This one, Mel is just there, and it's like, we're supposed to know who she is. If you hadn't watched classic Doctor Who, you wouldn't know who Mel is. And if you watch classic Doctor Who, you're going to say, well, why is Mel here? We last saw Mel when Ace joined the Seventh Doctor. Why is she here? And then they do give out a little bit of an explanation, and she stayed with him until he died, and then she decided to come back to Earth. But it still doesn't make sense because that's supposed to be in the future, and God, continuity headache.
She got to lift off a Zingo. That's all we need to know.
It's like, I get that you want a classic character to be in the 60th anniversary episode. I have no problem with that because it can't just be we're celebrating the David Tennant era. Because that's what a lot of people were feeling like. We're just celebrating David Tennant. This is not the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. This is the anniversary of David Tennant. This is the anniversary of Donna Noble. So let's throw in another character from the modern era in Kate. Let's throw in a classic companion like Mel. And let's name a character Rose. But it feels like they're just there to be there. And just not properly introduced. Again, if this is your first instance of watching Doctor Who, at least you get that all the knowledge you're getting is Mel used to travel with the Doctor and Kate is the head of unit. At least you got introduced to Shirley in the previous episode. That's about it.
Well, I am going to say that, like, as far as companions go, do we really need anything other than this is a former companion to catch newbies up?
Yeah, I get it, but it's like, and even in her run, the skills they have her show off here, rarely, if any at all, got showcased during her run with the Seventh Doctor or the Sixth. So it's like she just became another damsel in distress companion that we've talked about with the classic era.
I mean, I'm not knocking Mel as a companion, but if these episodes were kind of your first introduction, you don't really need much more than Donna used to travel with the Doctor, and so did this other chick. The thing that more annoyed me or confused me is when over there in the corner is the Blinks. Oh, hello, the Blinks. Are we ever going to explain that? No, we are not.
We talked about this off mic. You would think that the Doctor would be concerned that UNIT has this alien robot not only in UNIT headquarters, but seemingly working their computers. Like, he wouldn't question this. Like, why is there an alien robot here? Why are you having him hooked up to all of this? Where do you come from, the Blinks? Who are you, the Blinks?
Especially at a time of great crisis, where we don't know what's causing Earth to go cuckoo bananas.
And again, it could have been, we're setting something up later, but they never do. The Blinks is just there. And there's no reason why it's there, no explanation, it's just, it feels like this becomes one of the, not necessarily the first of this era, but definitely the first of the big ones, where it seems that Russell T Davies in this new era is writing for social media, in that he's writing these moments and these characters simply for people to talk about it on social media and make their own fan theories, but himself not having any idea what to do with these characters. It's just, I want a viral moment. I want fans to talk about this on social media and get Doctor Who trending. And that is not how you're supposed to write a TV show.
Do you remember that episode of Pinky and the Brain where it was Pinky and the Brain and Larry?
Yeah.
And for one episode, there was just a character named Larry that was there for no reason.
I mean, that was showrunners kind of throwing the finger up at the higher up saying, hey, you should introduce a third character. And also the writers wanting to write a Three Stooges episode.
But that's the way the Blinks feels like to me. Like, it's Pinky and the Brain and the Blinks. It's Pinky and the Brain and also the Blinks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's just like the Blinks shows up in like 2 episodes or whatever. We never get any context for why this thing is here, where it came from. If you read interviews and stuff with people working on the show, none of them know where this character came from. It's just there. They never came up with a backstory for it.
Yeah, like I said, it just feels like this is just here to get people talking. To get people throwing ideas. What do you think the Blinks is? What would you, it's like just to have Doctor Who trending, and you can't write a TV show like that. That's my feeling of this entire Russell T Davies Part 2 era is, how do I write for young people? I'll write some moments that they can talk about on social media and get it trending. And if that's what you think to get to the young people, my God, you've lost your touch, Russ. Because like going forward, it's like, it's the Blinks, it's Ruby's mother, it's all of that. It's all of these mysteries and questions that they never had any intention of answering. It's just, we want you to talk about this on social media and get Doctor Who trending, because that's going to get people to watch the show. And like, no.
So let's talk about the toy maker. So the toy maker has a plan, I guess. It is something laughter, something dark side, something complete. Yeah.
It's all about playing a game. As the Doctor said, the toy maker runs on the rule of play. Everything that the toy maker does is a game. It's just he's taking the game to the biggest level possible. We live in a world where people treat politics like it's sports, taking these important things and trivializing them and playing them as if they were a game. That is the world we live in the modern era. And the toy maker sees that and now can play the biggest game of all by having each and every individual person be their own player in their own game, playing to win. And they win by being right. And yeah, I mean, it's even through the toy maker's own words. They ghost and they cancel and they do this and that. The age of social media has become the biggest game of all. And yeah, it really does come off as old man yells at cloud when you realize that this is written by Russell T Davies. Maybe it's me.
Not you.
Yeah. The fact that the enemy is a screen, and we've already have that mentality of, people are too attached to their phones. Let's make screens the enemy. That's the vibes I got from the episode. Like, I get bringing back a classic villain, even if it's a villain from an episode that is mostly lost. I get the idea of playing up modern trends to turn people against each other, and that's how he plays the game. But that little speech he does where he goes about people talking about how people use social media and all that, it really does come off like, yeah, okay, boomer. That's what it really comes off as. And it really does go through the entire era almost like that. And it makes me really want a younger showrunner for this thing, younger writers that could potentially appeal to a younger demographic. That is, Doctor Who was created to be an educational show for children 60 plus years ago. It fell off the rails pretty quickly, but at the heart, it's still a show that is meant to appeal to children, even though it does appeal to us older people as well. And if that's where you want to go, you need young people to write it. And the Russell T Davies 1 era is still good. It's still good. You can go back there. It had its issues, but you can go back there and enjoy it. And it feels like he's writing off of the fumes of that, not only in these 3 episodes, but in we'll talk more about it next week. But yeah. But, yeah, it just really does come off as out of touch. But let's get to the thing here. So the Doctor challenges the toy maker to another game. Their second game, a simple game of high card. Deck of cards, highest card wins. Toy maker wins. The toy maker gets the highest card. Donna is sure that the toy maker is cheating, but no, he doesn't cheat. Because he can't cheat, because that goes against the rules of play. That's where we get all of the whole, like, turn your life into a jigsaw puzzle, blah, 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 blah. So now that the toy maker has beaten the Doctor in the second game, he wants his prize. But the Doctor says, no, I beat you in one game, you beat me in one game, best 2 out of 3. So we go back to the present day of 2023 for the final game. We didn't mention who's playing the toy maker. Neil Patrick Harris playing the toy maker. He does a good job. Guy known for playing not one but 2 Doctors, playing an enemy of the Doctor. Haha.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we finally get to the final game. On the roof of the unit, the Doctor versus the toy maker. One more game. And the Doctor does try to reason with the toy maker. It's like, look at the power that you have. Look all the good you can do in this universe. Why do you torture these people? Why are you causing these people harm? You could do so much more. Toy maker has a reason. Like, why should he care about the affair of mortals? He's a god. He does this because it's fun. I only care about the game. I don't care about anything else. And per the rules of the game, I fought the first game with the first Doctor. I fought the second game with this Doctor. I will fight the third game with the next Doctor, and kills the 14th Doctor. Now we have to talk about it, because all of that was just to get to this point, because we got to talk about it. Talking about by generation.
Must we?
We have to. Because this is how we get Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor. Apparently, they make this thing, it's a Time Lord legend of bi-generation, and because the Doctor invoked a superstition at the edge of the universe, and the toy maker's here, and legends are coming to life, so now the legend of bi-generation is here. Yeah, I'm not a fan of bi-generation. I will say it. I'm not a fan of bi-generation. It cheapens the regeneration. Especially when the interviews that Russell T. Davies gave afterward of, every Doctor bi-generated and blah, 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 which is just no, Russ, no, Rusty, no. My own personal opinion, it cheapens regeneration. It also cheapened the introduction of Ncuti Gatwa. After this episode aired, there's a lot of people who did not see him as the real Doctor. He's just a copy. He is a part of the Doctor that came off and was given life. He's not the real Doctor. He's a copy of the Doctor, driving a copy of the TARDIS. Meanwhile, the real Doctor, David Tennant's Doctor, is still around. He's retired. He has the real TARDIS and blah, 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 blah. It cheapened Ncuti Gatwa, and it made people who were already upset about the idea of a black gay man playing the Doctor already dismiss him, because he's not the real Doctor, because he just was a piece of the Doctor that got lopped off. His TARDIS is a copy. He's not the real Doctor. And you had a great opportunity to make him the real Doctor by doing a proper regeneration, but they didn't. Like, for some reason, this is not even the first time this has happened, because we mentioned it already, the meta crisis. That was Russell T. Davies' way of keeping David Tennant around by, okay, we can't have the actual Doctor have a happy ending with Rose. Here's a copy of him and he'll live. And even if this Doctor regenerates, the David Tennant Doctor is still alive in an alternate universe with Rose. It just feels cheap, and it feels like a cop-out. And all it did was hurt the passing of the torch from one Doctor to the other.
Yeah, I have a lot of the same problems you do with it. And again, it's complicating a thing that's already a bit too complicated.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we've already gotten hold of the idea of regeneration. So let's just deal with that. And instead, it's like, no, now it's got to be different.
And yeah, they do they tease it at the beginning of the episode, the first game, catch, and the doctors defeat the toy maker. We don't need to go into all of that. And the toy maker mentioning his legions were coming. And we eventually found out who his legions were. They could potentially come back to this with more gods and more members of the Pantheon. We completely skipped over the Meep talking about the boss. I don't think we've ever found out who the boss is. Unless the boss is the Rani. I don't know.
Yeah, none of that ever made sense to me, so I don't know.
But yeah, what we get at the end of this episode is the 15th Doctor talking about that he's already gone through therapy because he's the future version of the Doctor, and that the Doctor needs to go basically through therapy and stay in one place. And we've gone through all of those things from the day we left Gallifrey all the way to now. We never stopped. And look at all the people we lost on the way, and we get this long list of companions that have died. Adric, Sarah Jane, River, all of this, and we never stopped. We fought monsters and gods, and we never took a moment to say, what the hell? We just kept going and kept going and kept going, and maybe it's time to stop. And maybe that's why you got your old face back, to remind you to come home. Which is the lamest excuse they could have given to this David Tennant face coming back for the 14th Doctor.
I agree.
Like I said, the toy maker was right there. You could have just done that, but they didn't. They have a little bit of the toy maker's power still active because something, because we now need 2 TARDISes, because the 14th Doctor refuses to give up the TARDIS, even though there's 2 doctors and they're both can't travel together. It just cheapens it. I don't think Russell T Davies could let go of David Tennant's Doctor. But he also wanted to have a conclusion to New Who. That this was going to be the finale of the revival that started in 2005. And the new series was going to be a fresh restart, that you wouldn't have to know anything about the past 60 years. It's a clean jumping on point, and then ended up being completely wasted. Again, we'll get more into it next week, but it didn't work right for me. It just didn't work right. And now you've got the Doctor playing uncle to Rose and all of that, and having dinner with the family and all of that. Yeah, like my whole thing is that given how the Ncuti Gatwa era of Doctor Who ended, there is a non-0% chance that they could just continue with this Doctor, and if they really wanted to. I'm not saying they will. I'm not saying they should. They should not. But David Tennant has always been this, in case of emergency, break glass option for Doctor Who. So there is a non-0% chance they could come back to this, and I kind of don't want them to, but I wouldn't be shocked if they did.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they did either.
And then, of course, 15 is off to Christmas to meet Ruby Sunday and all of that. Usually when it comes to these Doctor Who episodes, we don't really do if they have magic or not. Go into our other ones, we don't really do that because it's just a different situation here. But as 60th anniversary specials, I feel like the first and the third did their job as anniversary specials because, again, you have a classic extended media story in the Star Beast, and you have a classic Doctor Who villain in the Toymaker, and using them in here, fine. While Blue Yonder does not work as a 60th anniversary episode, but like I said, they ended up using that to set up all of the things you would see in the next few years. So, Kiki, what I will ask, instead of whether this had magic, is one, did this work as an anniversary special for you? And how would you rank these overall as Doctor Who episodes?
I liked the parts of Star Beast that dealt with Donna and the resolution of the meta crisis. That was probably my favorite of it. The Giggle had a couple of good parts, but mostly I was disappointed in it. And like you said, while Blue Yonder was an okay Doctor Who episode, but it was not like an anniversary special. It felt like a filler episode.
Again, I agree. I agree with that. I feel like Wasted Opportunity could be the last 10 years of Doctor Who, honestly, because we talked about how a lot of Jodie Whittaker's run was Wasted Opportunity. I think the 60th anniversary was filled with Wasted Opportunity. And, spoiler for next week, I think a lot of Ncuti Gatwa stuff was Wasted Opportunity. But this is the show that they gave us. I think that's all we can say about these 3 episodes. As for next week, we are going to be talking about the Ncuti Gatwa era of Doctor Who, the 15th Doctor. We'll get into a little of Ruby Sunday, a little bit of Belinda Chandra, a little bit of everything. Come back next week as we talk the 15th Doctor era, and we'll talk to you all next time. Bye.
Bye.
Don't let the magic stop here.
Keep the conversation going. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Rewatching the Magic.
We are also on Blue Sky, rewatchingthemagic.bsky.social. And new episodes are available at rewatchingthemagic.podbean.com and youtube.com/@rewatchingthemagic. Remember, the magic is for everyone.
It only stops if you let it.
We know that right now, things are tough.
But in the words of Jim Henson, the only way the magic works is by hard work. But hard work can be fun.
Check out our show notes for ways that you can help.